KOSS has done it again, everyone. They have taken another popular headphone of theirs and given it the wireless treatment, such as we saw on the Porta Pro Wireless 2.0 that launched late last year. Well, another popular headphone, the KPH30i, has been given that same treatment and snipped off the wires in order to present you with the KPH30 Wireless. Let's check it out. Hey, what's cracking, everyone? Today I get to talk to you guys about the KOSS KPH30 Wireless. Now, this Bluetooth headphone will retail in at $59.99 and will come in either the Rhythm and Beige or the Stealth Gray, depending on which one that you choose. And I gotta give a big thank you out to KOSS, who did provide me with both of these headphones a couple of weeks back so that I could have plenty of time to get my thoughts and opinions out to you guys, which is all that I was asked to do. Now, during this video, I will talk to you about the build difference and the changes that you might see between the KPH30 wired version that I've got sitting here to the wireless version, as well as sound differences between that and the KOSS Porta Pro Wireless that was released late last year, so that hopefully I can help you guys all get a more informed decision should you be interested in purchasing either of the two colors of this headphone. All right, so let me give you a quick overview of the features of this pretty bare bones Bluetooth headphone. First of all, it is Bluetooth 5.2. The codecs supported are simply going to be AAC or SBC. It's 16 bit rate and 44 kilohertz of sample rate. There are integrated mic and audio controls that are going to be found on the right cup. The battery inside these headphones is going to give you more than 20 hours of use time, and I can definitely attest to that through my testing. It is USB-C charging and USB-C pass-through, but to do the USB-C pass-through, you will have to purchase an optional USB cable from KOSS. It's called the K-USB, and that will allow you to basically turn this into an analog headphone. Now, speaking of the analog headphone, the driver on this headphone is going to be the same driver as the KPH30 wired or the KOSS Porta Pros, the KPH40s, the KSC75s. The difference here is this is not a 60 ohm driver. This is a 32 ohm driver. So there are going to be some subtle differences there in this driver versus the other ones. And really it comes down to volume, which I will talk about when I get into the sound of this. This does not have any kind of an EQ. It doesn't have an app. It doesn't have any kind of multi-connect features. And you're also not going to find any kind of noise canceling things. I mean, it makes sense. It's an on-ear headphone just like the Porta Pros were, so you shouldn't expect that to come out of this anyway. All right, when you receive the KPH30, you're simply going to get the headphones, of course. You will get a short USB-C to USB-A charge cable, which is pretty standard for Bluetooth headphones. And then you're going to get this little short informational guide about the different functionalities of the button of this headphone. And that's it. All right, I'm gonna start right in with the build difference and show you the difference between the wired version and the wireless. Now, the wired version, really quick, guys, we all know that there's issues with this headband snapping. It will be loose over time, the clamp force will be bad, and there's been people that have had to make modifications for this headphone because they have simply snapped on them. It's a $30 headphone, but it's pretty flimsy on the plastic as well. Now, when we look at the wired version, that has definitely been addressed. This is a reinforced headband. It is thicker, it is sturdier, it is a little bit heavier on the weight, but not too much heavier, to be honest. And it just feels more robust of a build in the hand. Also, I think this is really important to note. If you look at the difference in size, now, yes, there is a Bluetooth chip computer in there. There's a battery inside there. So yes, of course, it's got to be bigger because of that and thicker because of that. But the circumference is bigger, which means the pads are also bigger. The pads are thicker and they take up more room around the ear, and that will definitely affect sound, which I'll talk about here in a bit with sound. Even the adjustment here, and let me show you that. So the adjustment on the new KPH30, it's a little bit tighter of an adjustment, so I don't find it slipping out of place. Not nearly as much as the KPH30 wired. This This is like a zip tie or something, but it doesn't stay like a zip tie and can slip in and out of place a little bit easier, I found. So KOSS has done a really nice job of improving the overall build of the KPH30 Wireless, and I actually really dig this. It's a patent pending suspension system here. It's got the same silicone strap that we see below here, but yeah, it feels so much better in the hand and on my head. And if we want to compare it to the KOSS Porta Pros, even with the Yaxi pads, you can see the circumference is a little bit bigger than even the Porta Pros, if that's a deal breaker to you or not. Obviously the Porta Pros fold up, which this headphone does not. This one's going to be more compact and portable versus this one. This one also came with a case, and this one does not, in case you need to know that in comparison with the build. Hey guys, one of those quick annoying interruptions here to remind you to please remember to like videos like this one if you do like them, and also subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Also, I do have a Patreon if you'd like to further support some funding for this channel and see some behind the scene things that I have going on. I would highly appreciate that. All right, let's get back to the video. All right, right before we talk about the button functionality, I do want to show you one more thing, and I'll demonstrate that on the Rhythm Beige. Beautiful, slick colorway here. And that's simply the wire, guys. The wire is connected to both the cups here, and it is fed through the headband. Now, only time will tell if this is going to become a problem. I really don't think it will, but we never know. And when you adjust the headband in and out, that wire pops in and out. Now, if it's on its lowest setting mode, the wire is going to kind of be nestled on top of the headphone there, but I don't think many people are going to have this shape of a head unless you want your toddler or something to wear them around the house. I know mine like to, but their head's even a little bigger than this. Now, we talk about the buttons on here. Very simple. We got 3 buttons. Power on and off is going to be the middle button. Also the pairing mode, also the voice assist mode, also answer and ending calls. Top and bottom buttons are volume up and down, skip forward, skip backward on your tracks, and that is it. And then on the left side, we're gonna have the USB-C port to charge the headphone or to do the USB-C pass-through. And then you see the LED, which is gonna tell you power on or off, also the charge status, also Bluetooth pairing mode. Guys, that is it. There's no additional buttons to remember for ANC or anything like that because these don't have it. All right, as I get into my sound impressions, I want to kind of tell you just an overall frequency response that I hear out of this headphone. And I got to tell you, it's a pretty balanced sound. There is a good emphasis of bass response to this. I should say good enough. It's definitely better than something like the KSC75, but it's not quite as thick as something like the Porta Pros, both the wired and wireless version. But I think it's very tastefully done on the KPH30 Wireless, which it was also on the KPH30 wired. But the difference here is I actually prefer the bass response on this one versus this. And I do think that comes back to the pads having a little bit more circumference there and also being a little bit thicker. It just adds to some more richness of bass. So when I listen to some of my bass test tracks, which if you've not seen my test track video, I'll link it here now. On some of my bass test track, guys, I don't feel a complete drop off and just loss of bass. It maintains around and has a decent enough presence of that bass response. James Blake music, definitely Billie Eilish music because she's more of that poppy mid bass focus. I like that quite a bit. You do get a decent amount of slam out of this headphone, which is pretty nice, I gotta say. And that carries on as we get into the mid-range. Mid-range for this headphone, I find again to be pretty well balanced. Now, I do think it tapers off a bit in the upper mid-range and is maybe a little bit more lean and a little bit more relaxed. So sometimes drums and things just aren't quite as pronounced. I definitely hear it with percussive instruments, and I definitely hear it with saxophones. Saxophones just don't have that fullness. It's a little bit more faint. It is definitely better than the Porta Pros. Make no mistake of that, especially the wireless version. I find this one to give me just a little bit more clarity and a little bit more presence of the upper mids. And I definitely hear it when I listen to something like Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, the Rumors album, you know, something that's recorded really well. It's just very veiled on the Porta Pros. And I don't get that out of the KPH30. I get some of it, don't get me wrong, especially if I'm comparing this wired to wireless. Now, speaking of wired, I do have the USB pass-through from the Porta Pro, so I went ahead and used it on the KPH30 to do wired out of this headphone. The difference I get You get a little bit more volume easier on this headphone because it is 32 ohms of impedance versus 60 ohms, so it's a little bit easier to get that volume. But I gotta tell you guys, it was really close with the wired version of the KPH30 OG. I actually preferred this one more. Again, talking about the circumference of the pads, the thickness of the pads, it adds more richness to my sound. It still makes it lively. And this one actually can kind of bite a little bit every now and then in the upper mid-range into the treble region, whereas this one did not do that, both wired and wireless. And that carried on as we went into the treble. So a lot of my electric blues music that I like to listen to, blues music with electric guitar is what I meant to say that I like to listen to, guys. There's some bite on some of the string instruments that I can definitely pick up on this headphone that is a little bit more smoothened out on the KPH30 wireless. Also, I find the treble to be a little bit warm, but not too warm and not too dark as it is on the Porta Pro Wireless, unfortunately. This one, when I compared these back and forth, I much preferred the sound signature of this one just so I didn't drop off that clarity, which is something, you know, originally on the video for this one, I didn't see it as much of a drop off, but now I can definitely hear it on the KPH30 Wireless. Now it is still pretty close to the wired version, and yes, it's Bluetooth, so it's gonna be more compressed, but they've done a better job. They've done something behind the scenes with KOSS that they've updated from the Porta Pro Wireless, because if you remember, this one was much more compressed and had some issues with the codecs that, you know, your sound could just lose some clarity quite a bit. I don't find that to be the case with this one. In fact, when I tested it wired to wireless, it wasn't so much of a difference that I preferred wired. I actually am perfectly fine with wireless with the KPH30. And I suppose I should also mention that I do think these have a decent amount of width and stage to them. I listened to some of my tracks that I should hear things out a little bit further. And I gotta say, on this headphone, I heard them out a little bit further, even versus the Porta Pros, to where this can have a nice stage presence. It's not like overly wide and exaggerated, so don't get me wrong there, but it's not closed in intimate either. And I find that pretty impressive as well for that performance out of this headphone. All right, guys, I am doing a quick mic test on this headphone. I have got my Samsung phone hooked up directly with Bluetooth, and what you are hearing is what this mic sounds like without any post-process effects. I can tell you when I've talked on the phone, it sounds fine. Nothing's fantastic about it. I've been told I sound okay on the other end. I was getting some reports of some echo, but that could have honestly just been a thing through my phone. But you guys are going to hear this now on how this sounds, while also taking a look at how these look when you're wearing them, because I honestly think they look pretty good, in my honest opinion. I said honest already, didn't I? I'm lying. Not really. All right, so as I'm closing out my final thoughts, I think it's important to share at least one thing that I disliked about my experience with the KPH30, and that's simply the fact that they did not include a bag in the box. Because when you have a headphone that's going to be taken on the go and is portable like a Bluetooth headphone, you should have something to put it in, right? And I mean, that was not included. The fact that they didn't include the USB-C pass-through cable, I'm actually okay with, because I love the sound of this so much as Bluetooth. Even when I listen to wired, it didn't increase enough for my enjoyment that I just enjoy this as is. So that's why I'm okay with not including that. But the baggie, I mean, come on, you know, they probably could have added that in and kept the cost the same or even a slightly bit more. Now I can imagine in the future we might see something like that along with the cable. But again, I just would have liked to have seen a baggie included. But I digress, it was not. And there are so many things that are positive about my experience with this, starting with the fact that I love the balanced sound quality out of this headphone, even with Bluetooth, even with the simple Bluetooth that's included with this. I'm very impressed with it. I would take it over this headphone any day of the week, wired version or not, because it's just flimsy and there's just a lot of improvements that have been made on this one. And guys, I have to admit, I take it over the KOSS Porta Pro Wireless 2.0 as well. As much as I like this at launch, and yes, there are definitely some issues with Bluetooth compression out of this one that maybe they'll be able to fix with some firmware updates. I prefer the sound signature of the KPH30. I actually dig the look. The more and more I have it, I dig the look, I dig the feel. It's got that sturdiness to it. Yeah, it doesn't fold up and break down, but I've had a lot of positive experiences with this headphone, enough so that I have been telling friends and family about it, that they got to try this one out. Now guys, I am just one person. Please remember that. get some more opinions when you can, but this one person is a highly satisfied KOSS listener, I gotta say, with the KPH30 Wireless. So with that, I will end on that and say that I thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.